If you have dated me, don't watch this video. Wow, what a fucking question. I haven't said a single word about it since the breakup, and then I've been on one Hinge date, which also sucked. How to manage your sexual desires as a single girly and just allowing yourself to really be super fucking miserable and sad and heartbroken. How do I know if the guy I'm dating is the one? Why are you asking me these questions? Do you want me to cry? Do you feel any pressure to be perfect because your fam moved from Turkey to the USA? If you've ever filled out a FAFSA when you were 16 years old without the help of your parents, that should build you. Hi guys, how are we? How are we all doing? I'm very, very excited to be filming this video. For some reason, what I'm feeling right now is like the way that I would feel like a few years ago when I would sit down to film like a chit chat, get ready with me, like girl talk, Q&A vibe. I feel very like nostalgic, like having my little vanity behind me. I feel like I haven't really gotten a chance to like sit down and chit chat with you guys and like just talk about life and just do makeup and like be a girl. I'm also gonna be showing you guys kind of like my everyday makeup routine, what I've been doing, little hacks, new products I've been liking. This is gonna be a very like laid back chill video. You can kind of have it playing in the background if you're eating food, if you're cleaning your apartment. If I'm doing something, I like listening to somebody I like talk like in the background. So I hope that you're kind of like in that little vibe right now. I also get so happy whenever you guys like post a photo on your story on Instagram of like you watching my video, doing your homework, or well, maybe you shouldn't be doing your homework while you're watching my videos, doing dishes. Like I just think that's so cute. It like gives me like a reality peek into like what's actually going on in your lives as you're like watching my videos, and I really like that. While I'm doing my makeup, I'm gonna be answering some questions about navigating your 20s that you guys sent me through Instagram. I did a similar video to this last year where I talked about figuring out life, like your 20s, relationships, dating, friends, moving to a new city, and it got such good feedback, so I'm back with a part 2, baby. So yeah, sit back, relax. We're just gonna be chit-chatting. Starting off with my Charlotte Tilbury Magic Serum. This creates like a good base layer for my makeup. All the makeup that I use, I'll link it down below. They're all my favorite products and I have been using them for a while. Let's start with a banger. How did you heal back after your breakup with Tom? Please share. Need the advice. First of all, I'm sorry that you are going through a breakup. It seems like breakups are literally the worst thing ever. They just really fucking hurt and there's really not much that is like an immediate relief, and I genuinely think that's the way that it is supposed to be, because as much as breakups suck, for me personally, my breakup was probably one of the toughest things I've ever had to deal with emotionally in my life. The only way to really get through it in a healthy way is just feeling all the feelings and just allowing yourself to really be super fucking miserable and sad and heartbroken for days on end. Before I ever went through that breakup, whenever I would see like girls or just anyone on TV or whatever, like going through that cliche, like eating ice cream, sitting in bed, literally being a vegetable, like I would be like, I would never be like that. Like I'm gonna take control over my feelings and just be strong through it. I don't think that it's necessarily a healthy thing to like intellectualize your feelings throughout situations, just trying to turn everything into kind of like a mind game and being like, well, this is why we broke up and this is why it wasn't working, thus therefore we shouldn't have been together, so I did the right thing, and because I know I did the right thing, I shouldn't be sad. You really just gotta sit with them and eat the ice cream and sit in bed. I think that every day after my breakup with Tom, wow, it's so crazy talking about it. I really am just now realizing I haven't said a single word about it since the breakup, because it was just genuinely the most painful thing that I had ever gone through. I totally understand everybody chooses to deal with situations in their own way, but whenever I see influencers or just like people online talk about their breakup online, like it just like wasn't even an option that went through my head because of the intensity of the emotions that I was feeling. I think it took me like weeks before I finally had a day where I like wouldn't cry when I would think about it, or like it wasn't just like the ongoing thought like in like the frontal lobe of my brain. I am at a point where like I'm at peace with it. There's no hatred. There could never be hatred. I think that really is that time heals. It's crazy. I couldn't imagine my life without him in it, but now I'm a fully functioning human with friends and a life and like happiness, and I'm just like doing good, and he's not even a part of it. So you're a lot stronger than you think, and in the moment it might feel like you're like trapped in this black hole of like, how will I ever be happy? How will I ever find someone again? How will I ever like feel these feelings again? But I think what's also really nice is like, because you know that you have felt those feelings at one point in your life, those feelings exist and they're beautiful, and you're gonna feel them again with somebody else. Somebody else that might be your forever person and that you're not gonna break up with. And like, how beautiful is that gonna be when the time comes? It's hard to kind of like think about it from like a positive POV in the beginning. And I was just like so angry. Like, I was just like, nobody understands the intensity of the feelings that I'm going through. But like, you should never push away like support, even though you might feel like it's not the right thing. Like, having a friend group around you, even if you're not talking much and you're just like maybe watching like movies and just crying and being a bum, like, it's okay to be a bum. I was a bum for a good amount of time, and I was probably starting to annoy people around me. It was the only thing that I could talk about. You just gotta get it out of your system. I've written countless pages in my journal about just like everything that I'm feeling. My first breakup that I ever went through, like the one that I had in high school, for example, I dealt with that breakup in such a completely different way. That was kind of like before I knew how to handle my emotions. The way that I got through that breakup, which definitely was not healthy, was just distracting the shit out of myself, constantly being surrounded by friends to the point where I like wouldn't allow myself to be alone. I knew that if I was alone, I'd be stuck with my thoughts in my head and that I'd have to face them and the emotions, and I really did not want to do that. So I was just like constantly like preoccupying myself, and that is so unhealthy because that shit bubbles up and comes up in different parts of your life. So do the opposite of that, where you kind of like go head on to the feelings. I would go through all our cute photos and really like cry the shit out of those moments, and I fully got it out of my system. And now there's like not a single part of me that like looks back and feels like I didn't heal through that breakup. When you have literally cried every last tear in your body, you get to a point where you have no tears left to cry. As Ariana Grande said, can we talk about that last song? What the fuck was that? Yes, and say that shit with your chest. Like, that was such a bad song. Okay, usually I do the Charlotte Tilbury Flawless filter underneath my concealer, but I low-key forgot, so I'm gonna do it over it. This gives like a really nice light glow, and it kind of acts as like a primer for the rest of my makeup. Yeah, can we talk about Ariana Grande? I'll be so fucking real about it. The whole like last drama of Ariana like kind of threw me off. I've always liked her music, like Guilty Pleasure, like Thank You Next album. I think that album came out when I was still going to school in Santa Barbara, and I would have to drive to school like 2.5 hours like almost every week. That album always reminds me of like driving back and forth to Santa Barbara, and I had a lot of time to like listen to all the songs and like learn all the words, and I was like, wait, I kind of fuck with Ariana Grande. I know she's kind of like mainstream and whatnot, but like that's fine. That's another thing I'm coming to terms with. Like, I had such a fear of being basic growing up, and I feel like a lot of people still do. I honestly have gotten to a point where I'm like, who cares? Some of the things I like is basic. I'm also a fucking victim of consumerism and marketing and like all this media we consume. Obviously, I'm gonna be swayed and like have the preferences of what like the mainstream media wants us to all like. I like it. Like, can we like move on? Babe, nobody was getting mad at you for being basic in the first place. Why am I fighting it? But you know, just wanted to get that off my chest. If you ever have felt like that, like, girl, it's literally fine. Not me protecting my Ariana Grande preferences. So then when she came out with this next song, and she hasn't come out with any music since that album, I'm like, oh my god, like, I'm actually excited. And then she fucking comes out with a radio bop, and on top of all the drama, yeah, that was quite disappointing. But anyways, I got distracted, sorry. Also, fun fact, I'm low-key going through another breakup right now, which is another thing that I really have not talked about on any social media, and I really am still not gonna ever like publicize any of my relationships the way that I did in the past, just because, I don't know, I feel like it takes away from the value when so many people who like don't know about it personally are like so invested in it. I don't know, it just kind of makes it a little cheap, if that makes sense. And I don't want any of my relationships to like feel cheap or like performative or anything like that. And I don't want a bunch of people who don't know me or the person I'm dating to be so invested in my life and like give their opinions, because a lot of the time they're wrong. I just literally don't see any positive come out of that. But every breakup teaches you something, and it teaches you how to move forward in life and what you are looking for, and teaches you so much about yourself. Just because something ends doesn't mean that it was a bad thing. You're gonna be okay, girl. And I feel so much stronger. I'm like, the fact that I'm okay after going through that breakup just makes me like realize that I can really really handle a lot of shit emotionally. It's just like really toughened me up. How to manage your sexual desires as a single girly in a healthy way. Okay, girly. You're maybe not the type of person to like get super attached easily. I'm very similar. It actually takes a lot out of me to get attached to something and to commit to something. It has to do with the fact that like, I don't know, I've always felt like I have to be independent. A lot of the attachment styles that you have in relationships are like related to the way that you were raised or like the way you grew up and like the circumstances had to shape your personality. And for me, like, it's really hard for me to be like, okay, I'm dating you, like you're the only person. Like I'm always just like a little hesitant because I'm always just like trying to make sure that I do everything at my pace and stuff like that. So if you're asking this question, then you're probably not the type of person that gets super attached easily, which means that you can kind of like maybe casually have sex with people or date. Like I have friends who are like, I really don't think that I could have sex with someone and then have sex with somebody else like a week later, because the minute I have sex with someone, like I'm just like, that's all I see. Like you are all I'm thinking about, and I just like can't do that to myself. So I think it also has to do with kind of being honest with yourself and realizing like, okay, what can I handle? Like what's within my comfort zone and what's totally like not. Maybe you might not even know until you give it a shot. Let it be like a trial and error for you. You guys, I've been using these NARS liquid blushes and they are so good. I'm obsessed. So if your sexual desire is to hook up with someone, I mean, there's so many ways to do that. First of all, getting yourself outside. Me and my sister were talking about this the other day. I kind of was just saying like, now that I'm fucking single again, I'm like, I don't want to get on the apps. Like there's something about the apps that really like cringe me out. And I've been on them before. I think I've been on one Riot date. Didn't really result in anything. And then I've been on one Hinge date, which also sucked ass, and I never talked to the guy again. So I haven't had much luck with the apps and I'm not on them anymore. What my sister told me was just like, I know that like it seems cringe, but like these are just like the societal like circumstances that we live in. This is just like our current era. This is how things work. It's not cringy because every single person is doing it. There are a lot of success stories. I don't know, there's just something so unsexy about saying like, oh, I met my husband on Tinder. Obviously nobody's on Tinder these days. Definitely not meeting their husband on Tinder these days. My sister was just like, no, like you have to kind of like let down your judgmental like side and just kind of like understand like this is just life. It's totally normal. It's maybe like saying 10 years ago like, oh, I would never want to like meet someone over Instagram. Like I feel like that's so fake. But now a lot of the friends that I have are literally because of Instagram, and like what's so cringe about that? Because our friendships are so authentic. So it just sounds nicer when you're like, I went up to him at a bar, you know? So I guess you kind of do have, if you want your love story to have like a romantic start, you have to have the balls. Like you kind of have to be in a situation where you take control over that storyline and do what you need to. And if you don't have the balls to do that, you are stuck with the next best option, which are the apps. So get on them, hit people up. Half the people on there don't want commitment anyway. So if you're also looking for something casual and fun, your chances are you're doing great. Oh, also, you can totally satisfy your sexual desires by yourself. I don't know why my head jumped to a man. They don't even know what they're doing half the time. Have you used a vibrator? Those are great. They are healthy. I need more blush. And you're gonna have a great time. And chances are they're gonna do better than any man you ever have tried it with before. I will link the one I have down below. Have I ever talked about my vibrator on here? No, but we're growing up, so. She's so little. She's so unintimidating. She has different modes. She's a fun time. And she's waterproof. I think they all are, right? They better. You guys, how good is the base looking? I am obsessed. Wow, what a fucking question. Do you feel any pressure to be perfect because your fam moved from Turkey to the USA? Migration / USA dream. The immigration plotline is usually kind of similar in some ways, in the sense that your parents are letting go of what they've known and like grown up with and taking a risk and betting on your future. So there are always just like those higher expectations of what they want from you, because quite literally they're putting like a lot of things on the line and just taking on this chance with pure optimism. We talk about this all the time in my like being raised by foreign parents videos, but the theme of like, when I was your age, like my parents, like I didn't have any of this and blah blah blah. It also teaches you a lot of independence, because in a way, like when your parents are moving to a country where maybe like it's not their first language anymore, you have to kind of step in and do a lot of like makeup work to kind of be on the same level as the people around you that were raised by people that are from here and do speak English perfectly and maybe went to college and they know the system, especially the US. Everything is built around such a fucking system that it's like, if you know, you know, and if you don't, like, you're already kind of like 10 steps behind people. Anything from like taxes to like employment forms and financial aid and like filling out a fucking FAFSA when you're 16 years old and it's like a 45-page document and you're showing it to your parents and they're like, I don't know. If you've ever filled out a FAFSA when you are 16 years old without the help of your parents, that shit builds you. That shit really adds some layers and toughens you up. Also, like, my parents did the same thing. Like, they moved out here because they kind of like took a chance on me and my sister and hoped that being here would give us more opportunities. And with that, there was always the pressure of, if we don't succeed and we don't figure out a way to make money, we're going straight back to Turkey. Like, our parents just like didn't have the financial ability to like sustain me and Nil living here if we at some point hadn't started stepping in for ourselves. I think it was like towards the end of high school, I was fully financially independent and like taking care of myself. I paid for my own college. The scenario was very much in front of us where it was like, either you're gonna figure out a way to make money and pay for rent and pay for college, or we all have to move back to Turkey, because they were like, the only place that we would be able to like take care of you guys is if we move back. And after living here and seeing all the opportunities that like being in the US obviously like offers you that maybe we didn't feel like we had, not maybe, but we definitely didn't feel like we would have if we stayed back in Turkey, we're like, hell no, we don't want to move back. Now that we've gotten a glimpse of this world, and like at the time we were in LA and I was going to like castings and stuff like that, giving up on the actress dream and route, but like it was just like so right in front of you. Like, it was outside your doorstep. I just like could not imagine a world where I just saw like a glimpse of it and then I was just like gonna go back to Turkey and continue living my life. The pressure is real, and sometimes I think like, was it worth it? Now that I am at a point where I'm like, I did figure it out and I did get over the barrier. Hindsight is always easier, I guess, but honestly, like, I wouldn't have had it any other way. If that wasn't my past, this wouldn't be my present, and I'm so happy with my present. I'm okay with how things did happen. Yeah, I'm just very grateful for it, but I can totally relate to like this whole like American dream scenario that a lot of us like first generation immigrants or even like second generation immigrants constantly have to be reminded of. It puts like an extra layer of like fire under your ass. I don't think it's necessarily healthy, but it does work. Even though sometimes I know that it's a toxic cycle, I'm also like, well, what would be a better scenario? And I can't really think of anything. How do I know if the guy I'm dating is the one? Why are you asking me these questions? Do you want me to cry? I'm just like gonna say it in like the easiest way. Oh my god, I'm not crying, just doing my eyeliner. I don't think that you know right away. I have heard of stories where people have like met their soulmate, the one. They like feel like they've known like right off the bat. Like, they're like, yep, first date, I knew I was getting married to him, like blah blah. Like I said earlier, like I'm not really that type of person. I'm not very like feet off the ground, like falls in love easily. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think those types of people that just are so courageous enough to just put their walls down and feel what they're feeling and like not have any like reservations about anything, I think that's also a superpower, to just like feel everything very deeply. And like maybe your chances of getting hurt is higher, but I think like you also open yourself up to more potential opportunities of finding true love because you are so just like open with your heart. That's great. I don't have that. I wasn't built like that. For me, it's very like slow. Like, it's a slow build. I need to take some time to figure it out. I'm like arm's length away, you know, and I'm like getting better at that. I don't know if it's necessarily something I need to get better on. It's just like the way that I am, and there's reasons for it. And I am also learning to like accept certain things about myself that are just the way that they are. But I will say, and like this is the most cheesy, cliche, basic answer, if you know, you know. When I was in my first relationship and I was like, what even is love? What is it supposed to feel like? Am I feeling it right now? Am I in love? Like, I was just questioning it so fucking much. I was just like, is this what it's supposed to feel like? Like, I think I'm in love. I like him. Like, I love him. Like, I care so much for him. I think this is what love is supposed to feel like. I was just like going through a bajillion million questions of like, I think this is it. So that was my first relationship. It was just like me trying to figure out what that was. And then my second relationship, which is the one with Tom, is when I was just like, oh, like this, oh, okay, I get it now. Like, this is what it's supposed to feel like. I feel so like weird filming these videos. I need to like do like a fucking click warning in the beginning where it's like, if you have dated me, don't watch this video, because I'm trying to be honest and like speak out of experience, but also like respect everyone's privacy and not be hurtful. Any person I've crossed paths with in the past romantically, I always have their best interest in mind. I never want to hurt anyone. Oh, actually, every person. every person I've dated. So the second time around when I started dating Tom, I was like, oh, okay. So this is what love is supposed to feel like. Like the first time around, that was just so like, I just didn't know. Like that was like and lust, and that was like baby feelings. And there were obviously times where I was just like, I love this person, I care for them, and I really like them, and I really like their company. Like that was great. But like the second time around with Tom, I was like, oh, okay, like this is what true love feels like. There is no questioning. At least that was the case for me. That's another thing I struggle with, I guess. Like I was also always asking other people in relationships, like, how do you know you're in love with your partner? I don't know if it's the same feeling for every single person. Like obviously like we're all so different. That doesn't go to say like someone that you felt like was your person at some point in life doesn't mean that you're gonna never change your mind about it. You could fully like look at someone in one moment and be like, this is my person, like this is who I'm marrying, this is my soulmate, whatever. Then like a year later, 2 years later, you don't feel like that anymore. You can also fall out of love with people. Shit changes. Just because it happened once doesn't mean it's always gonna be like that. Like I don't think that you have one soulmate and like that's your soulmate until the end of the world and like that's that and it's a done deal. I think like there are so many people in the world that you like might feel like that with. I mean, I don't know if so many is the case, because when you do feel it, it does truly feel rare and unique and like not ordinary. You guys, this is the Better Than Sex mascara, which you guys know I fuck with it, no pun intended, but this is the naturally version, so it's supposed to be more natural, and I also like that. And once you have felt it once in your life, I feel like you just always know what you're looking for. Like you just always know what does feel right. If you're not feeling those feelings, again, takes time. It's not to say that like first date you're like, I'm in love with this person, this is my person. If anything, like I really think that true love, being in love with someone, takes weeks of getting to know them. It's like a slow build. But after a certain point, if you're like, it's really not getting there for me, I think that's when you also know this is not my person. Hardest shit is trying to figure out what exactly you want to do in the future. Okay, you guys, here are some of the things that I have applied to life and just like work over the past year, I would say, that have really helped me. Kind of like going back to what I was saying, immigrant family, American dream. Your parents are always like, okay, like what are you doing next? Again, not even just immigrant parents, just like parents in general are like, what are you doing next? It's just like society, like this whole pressure around us. You need to have things figured out. You need to know what you want to do. What's gonna be your career? What's gonna be your job? Like, what are you majoring in? Where are you interning? We have all this fucking pressure to like have it all figured out. And sometimes I feel like the weight of it all is just like so overbearing that you don't even want to do the first step. Like you just want to like shut yourself off and like not think about it and push it aside. But obviously like you can only do that for so long, because you actually do get to a point where like, oh, I actually do have to pay bills, so I should probably figure it out sooner rather than later. This is like a mindset that I apply to literally everything I do in life. It has helped me tremendously. I don't need to have the whole thing figured out. Do I realistically know what I'm gonna be doing in 5 years? Am I still gonna be posting YouTube videos? Like, am I still gonna be making Instagram and TikTok like brand partnerships to like make money? Like, what am I gonna be doing? Like, I actually don't have a single clue. What is this gonna evolve into? Are people even gonna be watching TikTok anymore? I have one of the most unstable, unpredictable jobs, and my career is not backed by a degree. Everything just feels very like temporary. So how do I find stability and longevity in something that feels temporary? And you might kind of be in a similar situation if you're like, I don't know what I like, which is what your instability might arise from. And what I do to really like make myself feel balanced in all this chaos, I'm literally like, what is gonna be my one next step? I don't need to know what I'm gonna do 5 months from now. I don't need to know what I'm gonna do a month from now. What is something that I like doing, that I see myself turning into a career or making money, or something I enjoy, something I can build? It could be an internship. It could be, I don't know, crocheting and putting it on Etsy. Like, what is something that resonates with you right now, career-wise, that you can just focus on and just give yourself your best and know that you are doing your best, doing whatever that is in that moment, not think so much into what's gonna come out of it next. As long as you have this one thing right in front of you and you just know you're doing your best in that moment to do that thing, I feel like the rest really just follows. Like, I don't know if that's me being optimistic or unrealistic, but like I have been doing that for the past God knows how many years, and things have somehow worked out for me. Like, I'm never like, this is my 5-year plan and I must have this many followers and I will get this brand deal. I don't have a fucking like a map in front of me just like telling me what I need to do. All I kind of have figured out is like, okay, what do I do right now in this next quarter, like maybe like in the next 3 months. What can I figure out and like really put my best into right now that hopefully when you are done with that, it does like the next best thing that does kind of like show up for you. I think it's like a chain reaction. I literally have a tattoo on my hand that says here to like constantly remind myself to like bring me back to the present, because you know, growing up with all these pressures of damn, my whole entire fucking family left their whole everything they've ever known and like to move out here and like give a new life for me and my sister. So let me figure out what I'm gonna do by the time I'm 30 so that I can be like, I did it, I checked it off. Living with that constant pressure almost got to a point where like it was just like disabling me from doing anything. I was just like so paralyzed by the pressure of it and just like couldn't breathe that I wasn't doing anything. And then if you're not doing anything, like how is that taking you any closer to where you need to be? So I just kind of like scrapped the whole like 5-year, 10-year, 1-year plan, and I just started focusing on, okay, you know what do I want to grow? I'm talking about myself because like I'm just giving you personal examples, but like for me, I'm like, okay, you know what, I want to grow my presence on TikTok, for example. Let me make 5 TikToks this week that are interesting, that you know are fun for me, that I think would resonate with my audience or whatever it is. Just gonna film those. I think it's so much easier when you set little like bite-sized goals for yourself for like the week than like setting up a huge goal for yourself that is so far out of reach that you don't even know how to get there. I think when you do start doing the little like bite-sized goals, just knowing that you are doing your best, you can't really look back and be like, oh, I regret this, because like you know that in that moment you did your best. And I think when you do kind of like stay present and focus on what you have right in front of you and you do your best, the universe almost like works in a way where like it gives you more opportunities for like the next best thing. It kind of carves out the path for you. Keeping friendships, it's so hard. Okay, sometimes we like fall so hard into like the victim mentality of like, my friends suck, like this sucks, everybody else in the world is doing it wrong, and like I have it all figured out, everybody else is the problem. And like I've been a victim of this too, like I've done this too. Don't feel super attacked because I'm like responding this way to this question, but I've just like been in friendships where I always thought like the friends were the problem, and I was like, oh, they suck, like I'm always getting in a fight with them, blah blah blah. And then like months, years later, like looking back, I was like, wait, actually I was the problem. Maybe they were being toxic, but I was doing just as much. In the moment when you're so angry, sometimes it's hard to put your ego aside and kind of self-reflect and like pick out the things that you're doing wrong as well, especially in friendships. But I just want to encourage you for 1 second to just maybe like step into your friend's POV and look at yourself. Be like, okay, what could I be doing that is like not working in this friendship? Sometimes I feel like we forget to kind of like look for the problem in ourselves. I know it's difficult to kind of like come to terms with the fact that maybe you're the one being toxic or like you're the problem. Like we've all been in that situation. It's not easy. Friendships are relationships that you have to nurture and you have to invest time and energy into. Sometimes I would be like, oh, my friends are so lame, like they don't my friends watching this, like I've just been like, oh, my friends are so lame, like they don't ever want to do anything, like they don't want to go on like random spontaneous trips, like everybody's so boring. And I was just like kind of blaming my friends for the fact that like nobody was like meeting me at the expectations that I had in the friendship. But then I was like, what the fuck am I doing to like push our friendship in that way? Like maybe you do have to invest a little bit more to get everybody in the groove of like doing fun activities, setting up little dinners. Maybe you do have to be the person like planning the first 5 events and like everybody else is kind of just like not doing as much as you. Sometimes when other people see like, oh wait, this person's actually like investing a lot of time and effort and energy into this friendship, we all have like human instincts to like reciprocate and like do the same, especially if they're a friend that cares about you. Then they're not gonna just like watch you do all the work while they're taking a step back. Like in the beginning, it might feel like you're maybe doing like 10 steps more than everybody else, but that's fine. I feel like sometimes it's okay to kind of give a little bit more than you are receiving, just to like get everybody in the groove of things. But obviously if you do get to a point where it's like you feel like you're always giving and like you're getting nothing back, maybe that's not the friend for you. That's not the friend group that you're supposed to be a part of. We also shouldn't feel like eternal giving trees. Like your relationships at the end of the day are like a give and take, and if you're doing all the work and nobody else is like taking any responsibility to reciprocate, then bye-bye, they're lost. And you are gonna get to a point in your life where you do meet people that meet you in the middle, and when you do find that, like that's such a good feeling. Caring for other people and then seeing that they recognize that and then them caring for you do. It's just like the most pure exchange of love. And you don't necessarily have to have like a million friends. Like this is something that I struggled with all throughout growing up, where I was never the girl that had a million friends. I was usually the girl that had like 2 friends. If one of them was sick, like I was gonna hang out with the other girl. And if she also was sick, like God forbid they both don't come to school at the same day, like I'm basically like in a situation where I'm like, who the fuck do I have lunch with? I have never been the girl that's like surrounded by so many friends. As I've gotten older, I've kind of realized how little value there is in that. As long as I have people around me that have my back and they care for me, like that's all I can really ask for. And throughout the years, I do have a lot of friends now, and it's so nice. The younger version of me, if I could like take a glimpse into the future version of me, like whenever I'm like doing a little birthday trip or, you know, like a birthday dinner and everybody I love, I'm like surrounded by them, like I think I would get so emotional because I really never thought that that would be me. Like I thought there was maybe something wrong with me, or I was just like a difficult person, but some things just take time. I don't know, I think as you get older, like you start kind of realizing what's worth your energy and what's not. Something that me and my friends were talking about is also like, I think as you get older, this desire for beef, it really like goes away. I feel like when I was younger, I kind of was hot-headed and I kind of found like a thrill in getting into little like arguments with someone, kind of like playing tug of war of being like, you're right about this, but I'm right about this. And when the argument was over and I was right, like I would get like a kick of dopamine, like, yeah, I'm right. Like I knew I was right. When you get older, you just want everyone to be happy and you want everyone to be at peace. You should never give up your own peace and boundaries and happiness just for the sake of protecting the peace, if that makes sense. Don't just fight because you're chasing like the dopamine of I'm right and like you were wrong and I proved you wrong. That's just like your ego speaking. There is no space for ego in any circle where we're trying to find happiness and peace. Last step. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. I really appreciate you guys sticking along. I feel like it's been a long one. I low-key want to like film one of these every week. Like, should I do that? Like, should I just like film a video, like chit chat, get ready, whatever, like once a week? Like, would you guys be interested? Like, should I be doing that? I feel like that would be very fun. I had a lot of fun filming this video. I missed you guys. Just felt really relaxing, and I hope I could help you with some of the little tips and whatever, like advice that I sprinkled throughout this, and keep the conversation going in the comments down below. I would love to know more about your POV. Oh, subscribe, please subscribe, you guys. When I'm checking my analytics, it's like, oh, all these people are watching your videos, but they're not subscribed. Subscribe, it's nice. I love you guys so much, all the way to Pluto and back. Bye.